Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about how to connect a Django application to an AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance. Let me give you a quick intro about myself. I'm Tapas Singhal, currently pursuing my BTech degree in CSE with a specialization in cloud computing and automation. I'm preparing for AWS Associate certifications. If you wish to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can do so by scanning this QR code or simply search this URL in your browser. So this is the agenda for today. Before we deep dive into the specifics of connecting Django to AWS RDS, let's briefly talk about Django models. In Django, models are Python classes that define the structure of the database tables. Each attribute of the model represents a field in corresponding database table. Django supports many different field types, including integers, decimals, dates, times, text, and more. Models can also be defined relationships between different tables, such as one to one to many, or many to many. By defining models, you can create a database schema that reflects the structure of your application's data. Let's create a Django model and register it to the Django admin site. This is the file from the previous lecture of the Django and AWS series. In my app section, I will go to the models.py. So in models.py file, we have to create a new model. So let's say our table name will be class book, and we have to write it as like this: models dot model, in which I will specify three fields, that is title, author, and price. Now we have to give them proper type, like what type of field we have created. We have to tell the Django. So for the title and the author, they will be of the character field, in which I am specifying characters limit up to 100. Let's do it. Models dot char. Actually, it will be char. Okay, char fields. Then for the limit, max length equal to 100. Then for the author, we will do the same thing. So I will just copy paste, copy, and then paste. And for the price, I am giving it as a decimal field. So models dot capital D decimal field IMD, and for its with the max digit 6 and up to 2 decimal places. Okay, now we have created our demo model. We have to register it to the admin or in order to manage it directly from the admin console. So in the admin.py file, we have to import our book model and register it to the admin. So for that, we will use this from base file dot models, then import what we have to import the book model we have created. So import book. Now we have to register it. Admin dot site dot register book. Okay. Now save. Now we have create. Now we have to create a file that stores all the changes made to the database, which is called the migration file. Okay. Migration file. We can do so by using the make migrations command. Let's do it in the terminal. Write command python man manage.py make migrations. Now see, it has created a model book, and also here's the migration file created. Now we have to apply these changes, apply these migrations to our database. For that we can use a migrate command. Simply python manage.py migrate. So the migrations have been applied to our database. So lastly, we have to check whether if it is reflecting to our project or not. Simply we can start a server by using python manage.py run server, and then copy this URL localhost, and then go to your browser and paste it. Now go to the admin, login. So here's the model in which if I add a book, we have a 3 fields. Now let's say book 1, author Tapas, and the price will be 299.9. Okay, save. Okay, the book has been saved. Okay, it's working. Now let's talk about the AWS RDS. AWS RDS is a managed database service provided by AWS. It allows you to easily create, manage, and scale relational database in the cloud. RDS supports several popular relational database engines including MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, and SQL Server. With AWS RDS, you can provision a fully managed database instance in minutes and scale it up or down as needed. It also provides automated backups, software patching, and replication for high availability and durability. You can focus on application development and leave the database management to AWS. So to connect to the Django to an AWS RDS, the first step is to create an AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance. This can be done through the AWS command line interface or using the manage console. Once the instance is created, you will need to configure the AWS security groups to allow inbound traffic from your Django application. You will also need to install the psychopg2 package uh, or the psychopg2 binary library in your Django project. These packages provide the necessary PostgreSQL drivers for your Django to connect to the database. After installing the required packages, you will need to update the Django settings file to include the database credentials and connection information. Finally, you have to test the connection by running the Django server and checking that it can be communicate with the AWS RDS database. One note is that it is not necessary to use the PostgreSQL. You can use any database engines available in the AWS RDS to connect to your Django. So first one is the create an AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance. To connect Django to AWS RDS, we need to create a AWS instance, AWS RDS Postgre instance. You can create an instance through the AWS Management Console or by using AWS CLI. So in console, create database, select PostgreSQL, choose instance specification, configure settings, create database, name, login. Okay, let's jump directly to the AWS console. So to create one instance, first we have to go to the RDS service. So search for this AWS RDS, simply RDS. Click on it. Go to the database. Now click on create database. Let it load. Okay, so for the method I'm gonna use the standard create method, and now we have to select the PostgreSQL database engine. You can even choose its different versions. Here we have so many different versions. You can choose any. I'm go with the default version. For the templates, I'm going with the free tier version. Now scroll down, and we have to give a master username. So let's say its name will be Django PE or Django PE, and we have to specify a password. Now confirm the password. Now scroll down. You can actually change the storage too. You can do it as per your needs, or you can actually connect additional EC2 compute resource or an instance to your database instance. VPC subnet groups, you will see all that. Now make sure you have checked the publicly accessible as yes, and then scroll down up to the end, and expand the additional configuration and name the initial database name as anything you want, and give it as Django AWS RDS. Now I'm leaving all the other settings as default and creating the database. If you want, you can change them as per your requirements and launch your instance as per your need. But for this, I'm going with the defaults. It will actually take 10 to 12 minutes, so you have to wait for it. Let's go back to the PPT. So after creating an AWS RDS instance, the next step is to connect the Django to the database, uh, is to configure the AWS security groups. The security groups control the inbounds and the outbound traffic to and from the database instance. By default, the security group does not allow any inbound traffic, so you will need to add a rule to allow traffic from your Django application. To do this, go to the AWS Management Console. Let's see it in practice. The database tool will still take some time. I have already created one database instance for this, so let's use this one. You have to select the RDS instance, then In the security tab, security group tools, you can choose any of the security group. Then go to the inbound rules, click on edit inbound rules. You can you can create a new inbound rule to allow traffic from IP addresses from the Django application or from a specific security group. You can also choose to allow traffic from specific ports such as PostgreSQL port, that is 5432, and allowing it from anywhere. I have also added a custom TCP with the port range 8000, and also allowing it from anywhere. So I'm going with only these security group tools. So make sure you have at least this one in your configurations, and then save, and then you have to come back to your instance. Let me give you a short intro to the database instance that will be created. For the PostgreSQL, this is the port we are going to use, and this is the endpoint, or you can say this is the host of our database instance, and other things we will be using the master username and the database name and the password. So you have to remember those things from your instance. It won't be showing in the console, so you have to remember while you are creating it. You have to note it down from there. Now the next thing is, once you have updated the security group, your Django application should be able to communicate with the RDS, AWS RDS database. So to connect Django to an AWS RDS PostgreSQL database, you will need to install the PsychoPG2 package or the PsychoPG2 binary library. So the PsychoPG2 is a Python library that provides PostgreSQL database adapter for Python. Or the PsychoPG2 binary is a binary package. I'm repeating, the PsychoPG2 binary is a binary package that includes the compiled version of PsychoPG2, making it easier to install. To install this package, you can use the following command in your terminal. Okay, let's install it. Control C and then pip install psychopg2 binary. As I have already installed in my system, it is showing these lines, so don't worry about it. This will actually just install the required packages and allow Django to connect to the PostgreSQL database. If you are using a different database engine, you may need to install a different package such as MySQL Connector Python for MySQL databases. Now we have to update the Django settings file with the database settings. You can find the settings file in the settings.py file in your Django project. So, and then you have to set the engine of your database to the Postgres engine, or by simply you can copy paste this line. And then we have to set the name, user, password, host, and port to the corresponding values of the RDS instance. Okay, let's do this. Open the settings file of your project. Now search for the database section, in which there will be a default database which is SQLite 3. Okay, now remove this section. Now Now follow the lines of code, these lines of code with me. First, we have to specify the engine. It will specify what engine of database we are using. So we will be using the Django.db.backend. In the backends, we are using the PostgreSQL, comma, and then we have to specify the name of our instance of, or you can say the name of your database name. So the name was Django RDS. Uh, for that, actually it was Django AWS RDS if you remember, but it is still creating, or it is created. Let's connect this one. As you can see, I have created the database instance too. So these are the credentials for it: the master username, the master password, endpoint. So these two things will only you can see here this one time. You can actually see the text here too. This is the only time you will be able to view this password. Copy or save the password for a reference, otherwise you will need to modify the database to change it. Okay, so let's connect to this one. So the name was okay. Now we have to give the username too. So it was Django PG. So the user is Django PE, and then the password. The password I have given is not, it's only 0. Okay. Now the next thing is we have to specify the host. I have already told you where is the host you can find. This is the host. The endpoint is the host. Just copy it and paste it in the host, comma. The error is because of this comma. Okay. Next is port. So what was the port? It was 5432. Okay, all done I guess. Yeah. So the engine is set to the PostgreSQL, the name of our database, and then the master user, password, the host, that is the endpoint, and the port. Yes, specify all the conditions. Just save it. Now it's all done. Now just we have to run the migrate command again, as we have changed our database. We have to apply our migration file to a new database engine. Okay, let's do it. Migrate. Okay, now it's all done. Make sure all the left hand side fields must be capital. Okay, except the default one. Okay, now just we have updated the Django settings. Now we have to test the connection to the AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance. So for that we have to start a server. So let's run server. Now refresh the admin. Let's see if our super user is still working. No, it's not working as we have changed our database. So we have to create a super user again. So create super user. Let's say admin@gmail.com. Okay, admin, yes. Okay, run our server again. Now log in with the super user I have just created. Okay, so our model is still working now, but the previous records has been removed as our database has been changed. So let's create another record. Let's say the title is my book, author is Tapas, and price is $3.99. Save it. Okay, so our Django application has successfully connected to the AWS RDS. So let's see the next section. We have already tested the connections. Okay. To view the contents of your AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance, you can use PGAdmin, which is a popular PostgreSQL management tool. You can download and install PGAdmin from the official website. Once installed, you can connect to the AWS RDS PostgreSQL instance and view the tables and data. Okay, I have actually already installed in my system. Let me show you how you can connect it to. Just right click, register your server. The name of your database is Django AWS RDS connection. Now the host name is this, the endpoint. The username is Django PE and the password. Save it. So what it is saying is unable to connect to the server, connection database, uh, port 532 failed. Password, okay, I might get the wrong password. It's only 0. Save. Still wrong. Why it is wrong? Okay, actually the username Django. Okay, now it's connected. So you can see all the tables, all the records of the database instance here. So in the schemas, scroll down in the tables. Now you can see here's is my book. Here's the app name and here's the model. Just expand this one, or you can just right click and in the view select all rows. As you can see, the data, the record I have created is reflecting here. You can actually create a record from here, or you can delete this record to add a row or delete. Okay, you can just add second. You can say my book 2 by Tapas, and then 199.2. Then you have to save the change, save data. Now if I go back to my website and refresh, As you can see, one more record has been added. I booked two Tapas and one agent. Okay. So lastly, here are some references and resources for connecting Django to AWS RDS. For any queries or any help regarding this, you can contact to me on my LinkedIn. Thank you.